Hi, everybody. Welcome to MOONCAST. It's very glad to be here again. Having a chance to talk to you again. Hi, I'm Luna. I'm a Vietnamese communist comrade, born and living in Vietnam. And today we're gonna talk about the Vietnam's foreign policy. I mean, it's the thing that Vietnam been consistently talking about it for years, but it seems that it's still a new concept to a lot of people, especially from Westerners. So today, let me explain to you what are Vietnam's foreign policies, and also at the same time, what does it mean? And also, of course, Joe Biden just been in Vietnam like yesterday or something like that, or 2 days ago. And we just signed some kind of new agreement with our relationship, and a lot of people are kind of confused about this. They don't know what it means, and they are scared, and I don't know, they're confused. So yeah, in the live stream, I will also explain about that, and trying to make you understand what it means, especially about the Vietnam's foreign policy. And also, I will answer all of your questions in the chat. I try my best to answer all of them. But yeah, there you go. If you have any questions, just type them in the chat and I will try to answer them all. All right. It's really funny about long story short, on the September 10th and 11th, Joe Biden just had an official visit to Vietnam, and Joe Biden met the Zero Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyễn Phú Trọng. And in this meeting, we upgrade our relationship, but then, I will explain why is it later. And it's really funny that I already seeing an attack against Vietnam for, because we did that. It's really funny to see, the amount of ignorance and arrogance in that chat. But anyway, to warm up, how are you today? How is the weather over there? Actually, I mean, I heard that there's been a lot of, natural disasters going on over the world, like flooding and then earthquake or wildfire everywhere. And even in Vietnam, we are bearing a bunch of, terrible floods lately. The raining season is coming. It's September, and it's going to be worse and worse in October, November, and December. And it's a start. And Vietnam is a country. It's a tropical country. Half of the country is a coastline, and about a fifth of the country is actually newly formed from Mekong River. The Mekong Delta from the Mekong River. It's kind of pretty newly formed, like a few 1,000 years, something like that. And Vietnam is one of the top 5 countries, I think. I could be wrong, but something like 5 countries in Asia that will be heavily affected by climate change. So that is why, Vietnam's been very much concerned about the climate change situation, and we're trying our best to really help our people and save the environment like that. But also at the same time, it's hard because we are a poor developing country. It's a tough decision between, developing your economy and save the environment. And we are trying to balance that. We're growing a lot of, new forest and reforestation. Actually, if you look at the statistic, Vietnam is one of the country in Asia that has the highest reforestation rate. More than half of our country, about 56%, of our nation is covered in jungle and forest. And remember this, Vietnam was not the one who destroyed our forest from the start. We were not. We were not. We are not to blame when we talk about, deforestation. It was because of the war that destroyed a lot of our forests. The war by the USA and the war by colonialist France that destroyed our forest. And at that time, they like the USA, they napalmed our nation. They bombed our forest and they spray toxins. They spray like Agent Orange with dioxin in it, and it is supposed at first it was supposed to be like pesticide or something, not pesticides, like the anti kind of grass kind of products. The point is to kill all the trees, all the plants, and all the grass, so our guerrilla fighters would be easily found by the American troops. And that is the main reason why Vietnam's forest was destroyed. It was not because of us. It was because of imperialism. It was because of the USA that destroyed our forests. And right after we won the war against the USA, one of the very first things we did was to, regrowing, replanting our crops and regrowing our forest, and we're doing pretty good job. That Vietnam now is one of the highest country with one of the countries with the highest reforestation rate in Asia, 56%. For Vietnam is pretty much green, but the sad thing is, a big part of our reforestation are young generation. Oops, sorry. All right. So, a lot of using back to the main point that I'm trying to make here. A lot of Vietnam has been attacked by a lot of environmentalists, but like the forest lovers. Yeah, I understand that. I love forests. I love nature. I want to protect it. And the funny thing is, it happened to be true that a lot of those environmentalists, quote unquote, are very reactionary in a sense that they worship the Western values over, Vietnamese values, something like that. And, the anti-communists absolutely totally reactionary. And whenever they talk about environment in Vietnam or forests in Vietnam, they always blame this communist government for failing to protect our environment. But you know what? Actually, the thing that they conveniently always forget to mention is that actually why the forest of Vietnam is heavily destroyed like that. Don't you think that the war 50 years ago with the napalms, with the bombs, with the toxins, Agent Orange and dioxin has something to do with it? Seriously? And also like climate change. Vietnam is one of the country we signed the agreement to reduce the CO2 emission. Meanwhile, countries like the USA still refuse to sign, and the USA is one of the biggest, industry, like the CO2 emission industry in the world with their military bases all around the world. I mean, the US military is one of the biggest obstacle for humanity to save our environment, because all they do is to make wars and make weapons to poison our world. But like those reactionary environmentalists really never mention about that, never criticize that, but they point their fingers at teeny tiny country, poor developing countries, like Vietnam, like Malaysia, a bunch of countries in Africa, they're so bad that they throw trash in the street, blah blah blah, and they chop trees to build a house. Like, okay, yeah, that's true. I agree with you that we do have a trash problem. Because we don't have money to buy concrete and metal to build house, so many of us have to chop trees to build house, but hey, it's a
The U.S. is the biggest emitter of carbon.
yes, the U.S. according to the exactly according to the official statistic, the U.S. military is the biggest CO2 emitter in the world. Nobody can argue about that. But like those environmentalists, those NGOs, environmental NGOs, never mention about it. Mm-mm. Instead, they spend billions of dollars every year going around, pointing the fingers at poor countries in Africa and in Asia for throwing trash on the street. Like seriously, like the whole career is like that. Okay, I'm checking the chat right now. Kai, I do not know about the TPP-11. I have no clue what you're talking about. I have to do some more research. But okay, I might have some idea in my head, but I could be wrong, so I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, I have to do some more research. All right, so I mean, I'm talking to you in the sense of like the point of that environmental thing, because like it is becoming a big deal in Vietnam. Because on the one hand, a lot of Vietnamese people start caring so much about our environment. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. For example, there's a true story when, like last month, 2 months ago, we had a firework festival in Da Nang City. And in that festival night, we had like beautiful fireworks from over the world in the contest. So after the firework is done and everybody cleaning up to go back home, there was like the family sitting next to us. Like the mother, the over 60-year-old lady, when she cleaned the spot of her family sit, she like threw some plastic like cups onto the river. And that is bad, absolutely bad. And the opposite to like in the same family, I think like her daughter or something, or her in-laws or something, when they cleaned the family, like they took all the trash, put it in the bag and carrying with them. That is story of one family like that we saw with our own eyes. That is the different. I'm talking to you about the generation gap between us. So like Vietnamese like boomers over 60 years, because they grew up in wartime, poor, and they lack education about environment, and they do not have a proper like knowledge about how destructive plastic could be, because the whole life they grew up with organic kind of trash, and to them it was fine, totally fine to just throw trash to the ground, because they grow up with just organic kind of thing, and after like a few years it was like turn into like fertilizer to the soil. They probably don't have a sufficient knowledge about plastic. But then her daughter, the like over 30-year-old people, like generation like myself and younger, we have really good education about that. So like we trying to like to take out trash with us, and then put the trash in the right place, and do not throw trash in the roads. So that is why like a lot of like EJ, when he came to Vietnam about 10 years ago in 2012, to be honest, at that time Vietnam still struggled with trash on the streets a lot. And Vietnamese government tried so hard to educate people, like to send the teams on the street to clean the street, take the trash away, something like that. And 10 years later, vast majority of streets in Vietnam are very clean with very few trash. And the younger generations of Vietnamese people are very well educated about that. So this is how the Vietnamese society changed over the years, right? And that is why younger generation like Vietnamese cares very much about our environment, and we know, because we know that climate change is destroying us, and we need to protect this for our children in the future if we still want to live in the same environment like this. But on the other hand, so that is on the one hand.
You just reminded me of this great scene in Mad Men.
Hi, EJ.
Hello. Do you remember this scene in Mad Men when Don Draper and I think it was Betty and his kids went and had a picnic. And then at the end of the picnic, they just took all the trash and just like threw it on the ground and left.
Yes.
And it's just, I don't know. I thought that was such a great scene because it shows how like, the boomers today,
Yes.
when they were young, they were like
that. They
they
were
just
like
didn't have
that.
the education, basically. It was just,
Mhm.
I don't know. I thought that was a really good. It was like a little scene. I've never heard anybody talk about it, but I think that's a pretty interesting.
I mean, it's really great writing in there because like very realistic stories, but it's true. And yeah, and on the other hand, the bad thing that I want the point I'm making here is that the West sees that change in the young generations of Vietnamese people. That is why they're sending a bunch of NGOs, foreign environmentalists, to go to Vietnam and investigate our situation, our circumstances. Like, oh, Vietnam doing this bad, Vietnam doing that bad, and it's so bad. Like, okay, it's fine. It's good that they're pointing out that because, of course, we are not perfect. We don't have any problems. We are not perfect, and we still have any problems. Sorry. But the shitty part is this. They came here, they claim they care so much for the animal and the environment, but in fact, they don't give a damn about any of that. Their true intention is to come here, stir up public outcry, to make the Vietnamese people distrust the government, and to blame every problem that we have on actual communism. So like our forest, like because we lost a lot of our old original rainforest and we are growing new ones, they blame the communist government for failing to do that. Like, seriously? Because of the war, a lot of actual original forest was destroyed and we are trying to regrow them. And since we regrow them, of course, it's a young forest. So, and it's obvious. And another thing is that, like, Vietnam, a lot of, in the center, in the south of Vietnam, we had dry season and rainy season. In the rainy season, it rained a lot and we have floods, like several times a month, a lot like that. But then because of the geography with the very, very, very steep, like, slope like that, we couldn't keep any water naturally. The water just run directly from the top of the mountain to the river and down to the ocean. Which naturally, we don't have any big lake that we can do that. So what do? The problem is that in the dry season, we lack water for, for drinking and for farming. It's terrible. So we're planning to build lakes, to keep the water in the rain season. Well, like we can use it in the dry season, but the consequence of that is that we have to turn some actual forest into lakes. Now that is the trade-off that we have to take. Now it is the thing that, like, okay, you want to not do anything, leave the environment, the forest as the way it been, so like millions of people suffer, animals also die, the farming cannot continue because we lack water, or do you accept the price that have to destroy some part of a valley in a forest so we can turn it into lake so we can save everywhere around it? Now that is a big question, a big trade-off. There is no good answer, there is no perfect answer, and you have to take a risk, whatever kind of choice that you did. We don't do anything, things are going to keep going like this, millions of people suffer, and it's going to affect Vietnam a lot, especially the life of millions of Vietnamese people. But if we do that, we're going to destroy some forests. Now, Vietnam is planning to make some kind of natural lake, some kind of lakes like that. And we are being heavily attacked by environmentalists. A lot of NGOs jump in and say, oh, Vietnam, communist government in Vietnam is so terrible. They're destroying forests, and then a bunch of Vietnamese liberals claim to love environment so much. They made a petition to sign to call for that. I was like, seriously, these people. Okay, I don't care about those NGOs because that is their propaganda tactic. That is their agenda, that they have to, go look for problems and point the fingers at it, then falsely blame the communism for that, for every single thing. But those seriously, like, why don't we just let people in that area that will have the lake to decide? They will choose it themselves, and the other people, is none of their business, because it's not their life that being heavily affected. I'm sorry. It is talking about the reservation lake, reservoir for the water to save millions of people in the summer. I mean, this is really freaking bad situation, sensitive, in the sense that, like, I mean, we have to let people in that area to decide their own fate, not just some dude living in a city comfortably in their apartment, water 24/7, 12 months a year, water and electricity. We are talking about people in rural areas that do not have water for decades, their whole life, and now finally the government is doing something to help them. But then a bunch of folks in the city do not know any single damn thing about the life over there, and they like starting petition to say no to that plan. Like, hey, we should not do that, or we should do that. Maybe just none of your business. Ask the people over there about what do they want. If they don't want it, okay, listen, if they do want it, let them do it. Gosh, it's really annoying, and that is things going on in Vietnam. All right. Let's go to the main topic today. Is that Ho Chi Minh statue real? Looks pretty nice. It is real. I'm touching him right now. This is my Uncle Ho. It is real. Look at this. I'm touching here. I bought it. I bought it in the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum, I think. Pretty cute. Few bucks. And the line say here say, đời đời nhớ ơn Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh, means like, for a generation who will remember the good deeds of President Ho Chi Minh. Okay, let's talk to the main topic today. So the US is just offshoring its pollution. Yeah, that's true. It is true. The US been exporting another truth about the USA that you might not know about it yet. I learned it in the USA, my USA visit actually. First of all, you only recycle, like, can like Coke or Pepsi kind of beer cans, but then you do not recycle plastic bottle, like water bottle. You don't. Even though on the bottle you say recycle me or something like that, but the USA doesn't do that. It is because, you know why? The USA stopped recycling plastic bottles because it is not profitable. So before that, long time ago, EJ told me that they did recycle all of that, but nowadays they don't do plastic bottle anymore because they cannot make much money. They cannot make much money from it anymore. So what they did was that they throw it in the ground, on the ground. They smash them all together into huge cubes and just throw it on the ground, or they export that to other countries like Vietnam and Malaysia and a bunch of other countries too. And they force, and to China, they literally force us to, import those things. And China used to be, the biggest importer of those trash from Canada and from the USA. A few years ago, when China stopped doing that because, they are becoming bigger and they don't have to do that anymore. Okay, now the US and Canada have to deal with their own trash. And seeing the US and Canada, they don't have any facility left to deal with that. They were in the trash crisis a few years ago. If you can recall memories from a few years ago, it was kind of quite big topic in the US and Canada at that time because, their trash, they cannot export their trash anymore. What can they do? And one of the scandal that happened during that time was Canada. They had a few, like 60 or something, around 60 containers full of trash that they exported it. They tried to export it to Malaysia. And Vietnam refused to take, so they forced Malaysia to import those. Malaysia said no, because they believe that those trash are toxic, poisonous. They said no, so Canada, they could not unload their containers full of trash in Malaysia. So what did they do? The cargo ship went back to the ocean and dumped all of those containers full of trash to the ocean. End of story. And what happened to them? Nothing. What do you know about that? Many of you don't even know that happened, because the mainstream media outlets just conveniently never report about that or never make it a big deal. And it's only a story in countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, and some other smaller countries, because we refused to do that. So that is the hypocrisy coming from those big countries, when we're dealing with trash. Plastic is not recyclable at all. It is a lie. In Vietnam, we still recycle everything we can. We recycle paper, we recycle, cans, we recycle plastic bottle, anything that is plastic, paper, or metal, we'll recycle. And actually, one of my aunts, like she's making a little bit, earning a little bit of living because of that. So here's a true story about my lovely aunt. She started her business in collecting trash, recycling trash, and sell it to the stores, local stores, from like over 10 years ago. And at that time, because Vietnamese people were still poor, so my aunt, what she did was she went around on her bicycle and buy back the recycled trash from the people and then go resell it to the big store. So she made some earning in between that procedure. But nowadays, because Vietnamese people, our life getting so much better, so my aunt just usually just go around getting free recycled trash from around the area and then go sell it and make the whole entire profit out of it. It's amazing. I mean, my aunt is she doesn't make much, but that is how the dynamic of our society changed in just less than 10 years. At first we sold our trash to make some money. Now we just hey, just take it. Just take it, it's all yours. Because we appreciate that. Actually, it's I think that the thing that my aunt is doing is really, really good for the community, for the environment, and also she earns some for her living, and that is good, right? Yep.
I just wanted to talk because I think it was Sunset in the chat was talking about how the glass. We should go back to glass in the 1950s. When they first started to manufacture plastic bottles and disposable products and that sort of thing, like product packaging, the original environmentalist movement that people were trying to start up was to force manufacturers not to make disposable products like that and to continue making recyclable things like glass bottles and that sort of thing, right? So initially, the onus was put on the corporations to create sustainable, recyclable materials. Then immediately the national government, including the president, and I believe the first lady, I can't remember which administration it was or whatever, but got really involved with a campaign to shift the focus to make it emphasize personal individual choices to not litter. And that's when these anti-littering campaigns came out, and all 100% of the focus was on individuals not making the decision to litter. And there was no more pressure whatsoever put on corporations to make sustainable materials. So that's a really good example of recuperation, where there was an actual sort of radical push to make corporations responsible for putting all this trash into the world. And then the federal government immediately quashed that and replaced it with something focusing on individual moral failings. Not to say that, I mean, yeah, we should discourage people from littering, but the bigger problem is the corporations that produce all the trash to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, someone just asked about the difference between, somebody asked, how much does Stream Elements take? Mario asked. Or Marlo, sorry. The answer is about 3%. It's about, it's PayPal. It's literally just a PayPal tip. Stream Elements does not take a cut at all. They just have a interface for you to make a PayPal donation.
Yeah.
So
meanwhile, a Super Chat takes 30%.
yeah. And we understand, like, a lot of people can't use PayPal, so they use Super Chat.
Yeah,
That's fine. We're not mad about that. You could also support us on Camaraderie, which uses Stripe as its payment processor, or
Yeah, I
you
think
can
so too.
use Patreon if you want to support us. But Camaraderie is much preferable to Patreon if you can choose, just because people asked. So yeah, okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, you know what? There's a Nicaragua comrade in the chat. Wow. Hi there. Really great. I think you're my first Nicaragua, like, comrade watching my stream. That is cool. That is cool. How is Ko-Fi?
Oh, we have Ko-Fi.
We do have a Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi? I don't know.
I think it's coffee.
Coffee?
I really don't know.
No clue. Haha.
I can share that if they want it.
All right. Did you say prefer? We prefer Stream Elements. Over Super Chat. Yeah, impossible. Yes, no brother here. Just saying. All right. So should I go to? Oh, you're supposed to sound like coffee, but coffee.
You can also buy a book.
Exactly. Should I go to the main topic yet? I think so. Okay, I think let's do it. Enough with the warming up chat. Let's go to the main topic today, which is Vietnam's foreign policy. So, 2 days ago, Biden came to Vietnam. He stayed for 2 days, and there you go. Here's the story start. Oh, my cup is green, so I'm actually drinking the Galaxy cup right now. It's pretty cool, huh? All right, so Joe Biden came to Vietnam. And in this meeting, Vietnam signed an agreement with the USA that Vietnam and the USA will officially upgrade our relationship to strategic comprehensive partnership. Right? And what does this mean? Let's read the article first. Here you go. So I will just show you some pictures of this. Give me a second. Make it smaller so you can see the whole picture. Share screen. This one. So in this official meeting, this is, Joe Biden, and the other white hair guy is our General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyễn Phú Trọng. And in this official meeting, the two countries officially announced our, upgrade our relationships from, comprehensive partnership into strategic comprehensive partnership. And we, we even have a very specific name for this specific relationship. So the full name of this relationship between Vietnam and the USA is that it is the strategic comprehensive partnership for peace, cooperation, and stable development. That is the full name of it. Now, in the same exact meeting, giving the same speech, announcing the new upgrade of our relationship, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam reaffirmed one more time about our very consistent foreign policy, which is the 4-No policy, that Vietnam will be very firm about this stance and will never change, not yet change. And it just means more trade to Vietnamese people. It doesn't mean like a alliance or military alliance or ally or anything like that. Now, that is the thing that Vietnamese people understand very well, that the strategic comprehensive partnership, it just means more trade. End of story. But now this is where the story started. Overnight, it happened in Vietnam in the daytime, but overnight the news got big in the mainstream media. And not just overnight, but like the USA been, pitching about this for so long, they did a lot of PR about it, say like, "Ooh, Vietnam about to be the U.S. ally," blah. And a lot of people who like anti-U.S. pro-Vietnam, they panicked. They came and asked me like, "Vietnam, what's going on? What's going on, Luna? What's up with Vietnam? Why did Vietnam do this? Is Vietnam really becoming a close ally to the U.S.?" Blah blah. They panicked. So it's mean like, the two kind of chants from here. Like you see, like one type is like, oh, they kind of, okay, they laugh in their half of their mouths like, ooh, really? See, I am right. Vietnam loves capitalism and becoming the U.S. ally. Ooh. And people who like panic about it, like, hey, what's wrong with Vietnam? Why did Vietnam become this? Here's the thing. This is a tactic from, the propaganda tactic from the USA. No matter how you think about this news, you still have to think within the box, inside the box. You could never think outside the box. The box that the mainstream media created for you is that Vietnam already is, or will be a U.S. ally. That is the box for you. Vietnam is a U.S. ally. That is the box. Now, people who hear about this news, they like it or they don't like it, but they still have to think within that framework. That is perceptual reality that Professor Michael Parenti been talking about that a lot in his book, Inventing Reality. All right, so long story short about that book, that is a great book that I recommend everyone to go read it. All right, Inventing Reality. It is way better. I'm sorry. It is way better than what the book? Noam Chomsky or Zigzag? Noam Chomsky's book. I mean, actually, it was good, but like the Inventing Reality is even better, by Michael Parenti. All right. A perceptual reality. The propaganda outlets, the mainstream media outlets, instead of directly controlling what you think and what you believe, instead of directly telling you what to think, they very insidiously, they go and they create a false reality around you. And from that false reality, you form your own thoughts. That is how they control you and manipulate your thoughts. That is very insidious way of saying that. So instead of, go tell them exactly what to think, because that is too easy for you to point out and to resist that, they go around and they create a reality around you. That from that, you form their own thoughts. That is why a lot of you have the false belief that you're a free thinker. Yeah, you're very much free thinker because nobody tell you exactly what to think, but you never be open about, is it the reality around you? Is it actual reality or somebody's creating it? So they're making a box around you that Vietnam actually loves capitalism. They, they love America. Vietnam is U.S. allies by, paying a bunch of research, NGO research, to go around and make fake and false and wrong posts about how Vietnamese think about USA, how Vietnamese think about the free market, how Vietnamese that, how Vietnamese this. So from the mountain of statistics and numbers of fake news, you have something in your mind that, hey, actually, Vietnam is actually a traitor of communism. Vietnam is love capitalism, this, that. So that is how they manipulate you. And this is exactly that, the situation where Vietnam upgrade with the USA. Lots of you are either being manipulated by the mainstream media outlets in your country, you're either ignorant, the information is being withheld from you, and the only information source that you hear is from your mainstream media, not from us. Because from Vietnam, in Vietnamese, we've been saying for years and years and years on end that Vietnam will stay. Our very consistent and strong stance is that Vietnam will maintain our independence and freedom and self-determination at all costs. And we would not align with any country, blah, blah. Now, here's a official stance about, of Vietnam about our foreign policies. Vietnam, we have a very strong foreign policy, and it's called the 4 No's foreign policies. I will read the article to you to explain it right now, and why you should not be panicked. You should inform yourself about this and start spreading the truth to people out there. All right, here we go. This is the stance of Vietnam. Just said about a few months ago by our Prime Minister. Vietnam steadfastly implements the 4 No's defense policy. All right. Understood by Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính speaking at the General Military Conference on July the 5th. And what does this mean? All right. This is the 4 No policy. We started with 3 no's first in 2019. We added 1. So now it's officially 4 no's, but the first 3 no's are, the first is that, oh my goodness, so long. Just go to the point. Okay, here. This is the 4 No policy. No military alliance means that Vietnam will not align with any country, in military kind of sense. There's no military alliance between Vietnam and any other country on earth. Nope, that's the first no. The second no is that do not associate with one country to fight another country. It's just like do not align with other country against any other country. That is it. We are not aligned to fight against other country. So to say that Vietnam will align with the USA against China is BS. They know nothing about our official policies at all whatsoever, because it is right here. The third one is do not allow any foreign countries to set up military bases in our territory to fight another country. So that is why if you check the map right now, there is no U.S. military bases in our territory at all, talking about both the ocean or land. Different from other countries that they allow or they were forced, to agree to, for the U.S. to put military bases over there. And it's really bad. Just go around. The U.S. has around, at least that we know of, at least 800 military bases all around the world. That is their means to threaten the whole world, But if you check, there is no military bases on the Vietnam's territory. That's a very brave kind of stance, I gotta say. Very few countries dare to refuse the U.S. Well, actually, a few years ago, no, many times, the U.S. been begging Vietnam to allow them to put military bases in our ocean because like they will help us to watch over China. So that they were like, no. We kept saying no and no and no and no. But then you only heard from your mainstream media outlets. You only heard about how the U.S. wants Vietnam to allow them to put military bases over there. But they never report about the Vietnam's official answer, no. Even though we'd be saying no, no, and no. No, nobody can put any military bases in Vietnam. No. That is the perceptual reality that they're building around you. And the last no is that do not use force or threaten to use force against other countries. That is a 4-no, clearly. And this 4-no policy was stated by our Zero Secret 3 Autonomous Party of Vietnam right in the same speech where we announced that we upgrade the relationship with USA. So it means that Vietnam did not, does not, and will not be ally of the USA in any sense that you're talking about military or anything, or Vietnam become the imperialist running dog of the USA, as a lot of people say, anti-communist reactionaries say, oh, Vietnam, this, that. Because you know what? To Vietnamese people, the strategic partnership means economic strategic partnership. It means more trade between the two countries. And that's just it. But then in your head, a lot of you in the West, you're being brainwashed a lot. So whenever you heard the word strategy, it means military. It means something related to violence and force. So when Vietnam, announced a strategic partnership, instead of really going around and maybe calm the heck down and wait like, hey, actually, what does it mean, the strategic partnership? What does it do? You assume what it means, then you panic or you kind of laugh based on your own ignorance. That is the biggest problem. So long story short, yes, Vietnam did upgrade our relationship with the USA, but it means more trade. It doesn't mean that Vietnam is US ally or alliance, military alliance or any BS like that. And here's the thing. The second point that is very important, Quỳnh Nguyễn Việt Nam Hồ Chí Minh. Oh yes, Việt Nam Hồ Chí Minh, yes. The second point that's very important and a lot of you don't know because the information is conveniently withheld from you is that Vietnam, not just the USA, Vietnam have strategic partnership with 4 other countries. The USA actually just the last one that we just added 2 days ago. The first strategic comprehensive partnership that we had was with China. It was in 2008. And then the second was with Russia, and the third was with India, and the fourth was with South Korea that we did it 2022, and now the USA just the latest one. And the USA's biggest quote-unquote enemy, China, that they've been claiming that Vietnam joining with the US against China, actually we've been having the same exact title and level of relationship from 15 plus years ago. So actually the US is 15 years late. So according to their, even if we are saying according to their own belief that Vietnam is joining US over China, I mean, Vietnam has been joining with China over the US for over 15 years. And now only until now, Vietnam decided to treat the USA the same level that we treat China. So what does that mean? Right? I mean, are you confused yet? Are you panicked yet? Are you overwhelmed with information and the truth yet? Does your mainstream media outlet really report about Vietnam being having strategic comprehensive partnership with China since 2008? What does that mean? I mean, yeah, right? If you don't have any clear framework, you won't be able to understand this. So what is like, a lot of you say like, oh, so what is it? What does this mean? Vietnam was with China or the US? The answer is we're with none of them. We with both of them and we with none of them in that kind of sense. And also just last month, August 2023, Vietnam just applied to join BRICS. I mean, it doesn't matter how you think about BRICS. A lot of you believe that BRICS is like the new world hope or something like that. The others say that BRICS doesn't mean anything. It's just like a big FU to the US. Say, okay, I don't care. I don't care about what you think about BRICS. All right, it doesn't matter what you think about BRICS. What is the matter is 3 sources of information. First of all, Vietnam being the strategic partnership with China since 2008. Second of all, Vietnam just applied to join BRICS last month with the leaders were China, India, Brazil. All right. And then the third is that like right before the meeting with Joe Biden 2 days ago that we announced the upgrade, Vietnam had an official meeting with China just a week before that. So what do you mean? What? Upvote comment? No audio? There is audio. Maybe check your own end or your internet or something. There is audio, right? You're hearing me, right? The whole time? Okay. There you go. Have any question? The audio is good. Yeah, okay. We hear. Okay, good. I'm so panicked. Oh, okay. Too much white light. Oh, yeah, I think so. We changed a new camera. So it's actually a little bit different. The setting is different. Actually, here's the thing. This is the truth about technology. We used a shittier camera last week, and I like it way more than this nicer one. We tried so hard to fix, the color of this new camera, but I don't know. I still don't like it. We're too close to those streaming times, so we could not work on it more, but I kind of want to go back to my shittier camera. Give me a lower quality camera, EJ. Not enough green. Yeah, absolutely not enough green. Something. I mean, I like the old one first. I don't like the too advanced one. I like the old shitty one. Hey, you like my earrings? Thank you so much. I just got it. Yeah, I love those too. Okay, do you have any questions for me? About anything, especially from a relationship here. Oh, to wait for your questions. Let's talk about this too. Yesterday, Joe Biden went to, you can go Google it. I don't want to show any picture. It's painful. So you know that in Chúc Bạch Lake, I went there uncountable times. It's just a very famous site in Hanoi City. In the Chúc Bạch Lake, we have a monument. And that monument is for the capture of John McCain. You know John McCain, a very famous Senate of the USA that used to be the pilot in the Vietnam War. In that monument, in that lake, we made a monument to commemorate the comrades, the Vietnamese fighters who successfully shot down John McCain on his airplane, and then we saved him in the lake, and he became the prisoner of war. That is a monument for the capture of John McCain. I can show you a picture real quick. Give me a second. Let me find it for you. So there is, all right. Here's the monument. Let me get the picture open. Image new tab right here. Give me a second, Conrad. Look at this. Look at the capture, and you will know what I'm talking about. Here we go. That is a monument. It is not a monument for John McCain, just so you know. This is a monument for Vietnamese communist fighters who captured John McCain. Even if you don't trust my words, okay, go research it yourself and just look at this statue. Now, this is a statue of an American guy kneeling down with his arms up, totally a surrender position, with the fire and the smoke up above his head, and on the side is the USAF, the U.S. Air Force, the emblem on the sign. So like, yeah. So now, just look at this picture and tell me that this the monument to commemorate John McCain or not? No, it's not. If you just look at the picture, it is for the capture of John McCain in 2072. All right, more about John McCain. John McCain, to us, to millions of Vietnamese, to 100 millions of Vietnamese people, he's a war hero. He's not a war hero. He's not a successful man. The only thing that we appreciate John McCain for is that in 2000 something, he came to Vietnam and tried to normalize the relationship between Vietnam and the USA, and now that is what we kind of respect him for. Not about who he is, because we never forget about what he did before being shot down and captured in Vietnam. He successfully bombed Vietnam 22 times. He was a war criminal. He was a murderer, a serial killer. The last time that we got shot down is that he just successfully bombed a light bulb factory in Hanoi. It's not just a light bulb factory full of women workers, totally innocent. It's just a factory to make light bulbs. And he bombed that factory before he got shot down. So what? So do you really think that we make a monument for him? No. And it's very embarrassing and angry and disgusting. You know how many times, whenever there's the official U.S. leaders came to Vietnam, they never went to Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum, a national hero of Vietnam, the one that brought independence and freedom to Vietnam, and hundreds of millions of Vietnamese will worship him. Vast majority, I think all of other leaders of other countries, when they came to Vietnam, the first thing that they did was to visit Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum and put flowers in there. But the U.S. never did. Till this day, the U.S. never did. Instead, what they did was to go to this monument and falsely think that it's a monument for John McCain and put flower in there, even though he's a war criminal that killed countless numbers of Vietnamese civilians, not just soldiers, Vietnamese civilians. That is disgusting. And yeah, you think that Vietnam loves America, that Vietnam loves capitalism, Vietnam, U.S. allies now? That is so BS, so ignorant. You don't know nothing about us. And also, to say that Vietnam loves America because American polls show you that. It's really funny. It's really funny that you never listen to actual Vietnamese, you know, because actually Vietnam, we never even bother to make that BS polls about, whoa, what do we think about USA? Like, we all know. We don't have to make polls to prove that. But you know what? The US media outlets, Pew Research, for example, they love making up that post. They love going around, cherry pick Vietnamese, especially Vietnamese liberals, say, hey, what do you think about America? Because, and they know nothing about Vietnam, Vietnamese or Vietnamese culture. Franco, again, I've been talking constantly for the last 30 minutes about what it means when we upgrade the relationship and what it actually means and what is the true meaning of the foreign policy of Vietnam here. And here we go, we see an actual real-time example of what I've been talking about, the ignorance, the arrogance of these people. They don't know nothing. They're just assuming from the very limited information they hear from the mainstream media outlets, and they never even bother to just go and check Vietnamese news. Franco, I urge you to go and check the Vietnam's foreign policy and then go back and talk to me, or just play back the stream 30 minutes ago and listen from the start, because there's no way I'm gonna re-answer the question that I just answered 30 minutes ago. Go replay the stream 30 minutes ago, right? And there you go. That's the answer for your day. That is a real life example of exactly what I'm talking about. That is the reason why I have this stream. It's very frustrating, you know. I mean, like, they never go and research and actually ask Vietnamese, like, hey, what do you think about this? No, they just trust the mainstream media outlets, and they like frustrated with Vietnam. Like, all right. Oh, like, my gosh, Vietnam should not be like India, playing both sides. We're not just playing both sides, we're playing all sides. So, you have any problem with that? Do you really have any problem with that? We're playing all sides right here because we don't have the privilege of picking a side. Because, okay, I will give you 101 lesson on the 101 geopolitical knowledge. Gosh, so many of you are childish. I can't stand it. I'm sorry, I'm being frustrated right here, so just forgive me, all right? The frustration, the amount of frustration, the ignorance, the arrogance, and the childish understanding of the world politics right now. First of all, you need to know that we are all grown-ups, we adults. We are running a country of over 100 million people. Second of all, we do not exist in a vacuum. We have to trade with other countries in order to survive, because we cannot single-handedly produce every single thing that we need. For example, microchips. For example, a bunch of raw material and ingredients that we need to develop our economy. All right? And of course, we have to develop our economy if we want our people's lives to be better. Vietnam cannot make microchips yet. So, yeah, what do? We have to maintain a relationship with countries that can make microchips for phones and computers. That's obvious, all right? Second of all, Vietnam is not a country with over 1 billion people like India or China. Vietnam's domestic market is just 100 million people. Very hard. It's less than a third of the size of the USA, and a 15th or a 13th of China and India. We are very small. Talking about the location, Vietnam is located right next to China. And Vietnam's coastline, half a country is coastline, and we are the gate for the Southeast Asia to go to the world if you want to deliver, products in and out of the region. First of all, Vietnam just had a brutal war with the USA just 50 years ago. All right. Now, if Vietnam picked China's side, you know that Vietnam and China, we have a very complicated relationship over 2,000 years. Why do you forget about that? So, very complicated, and I don't intend to explain it to you because it's too complicated. It's none of your business. But just understand that it's very complicated, and Vietnam might be the country that understands China the best. And it is very important. China is a huge market with 1.4 billion people in order to survive. Vietnam needs China, and China needs Vietnam. But we need them more than we need them more than they need us. Because they're huge. They're 14 times bigger than us. So we want to export our products to China. And so we need things that we need to buy from China because they are huge. And we are a tiny country. All right. If we choose China officially, the US will be really pissed off about that. And we just had a war. 3 million Vietnamese people died just 50 years ago in our living memory. We don't want to piss off the USA because the USA is still the biggest bullier in the world with over 5,800 nuclear warheads. All right. But if we choose the US side, the China will be pissed because 1979 to 1989, Vietnam and China just had a Sino-Vietnam war because Vietnam sided with the USSR. Since Vietnam next to China and we pick the side of the USA, that doesn't make any sense because we share a border and we need to trade with each other to survive. We cannot pick. So that is why people keep telling Vietnam should pick a side. They very ignorant. They either have a agenda behind them or they are super extremely childish and ignorant. They don't know nothing about geopolitics. They don't know nothing about the actual history and relationship between the three countries. So Vietnam does not have the privilege of picking any side because whatever side we pick, the other side will be pissed and we will be heavily punished for that. That is why Vietnam has to play all sides. I hope you understand that now. And here's the thing. The thing that Vietnam can do is that can you name me any other country on earth that has the same foreign policy in Vietnam? Imagine a country that on the Southeast Asia, a very poor area of Asia, a poor continent, a country that just got out of the war and the comprehensive US sanction just 20 years ago. A country that's still developing and poor and devastated because of the war just 50 years ago. That country there is brave enough. That country has the balls to have a foreign policy that officially state that Vietnam will not join any military alliance. Vietnam will not allow any country to put military bases in our territory. Vietnam will not use violence or threaten to use violence against any country. And Vietnam will not sign with any other country against other country. How many countries on earth that have the balls to have the same foreign policy? Now name me. Name me. No, you can't. Just look at Japan, literally under control of the military of the USA. South Korea, absolutely the puppet state. Australia, oh my gosh, even the bigger puppet. Canada too, oh my goodness. What? What else? No, none of the country talking about a poor, developing third world country that dare to have that policy of choosing no side. We are on our own and we're talking on our own terms. So, Vietnam, funny thing too. A lot of the mainstream media outlets, they report about this upgraded relationship as like the highest level ever. Vietnam, blah blah. U.S. does that. You don't know that. You don't know that. It's not the highest title of relationship. No, it's not. The highest relationship that Vietnam has is great friendship. And we have that with Laos. So the comrade Panda asking, what is Vietnam's official relation with Laos? Well, that is great friendship. So see, we don't even use partnership, we use friendship. And it's not just a normal friendship, it's a great friendship. That is the highest title that we have in another country. The other highest title is Cuba, also friendship like that. All right? Nobody can beat that. And again, the mainstream media outlet, just Western media outlet, just conveniently never report about this highest title of relationship. They act like Vietnam, US is actually the highest. No, actually they are the last of 5. We had the first with China, and then Russia, and then India, and then South Korea. And the highest actually Laos and Cuba. The one very poor country, and the other one is still under US sanction. That is the intention of Vietnam. So that is the truth. All right. And also all the weapons that we bought, not all, but most of the weapons that we have to this day is from Russia. Russia is our biggest weapon trade partner. So this is more information for you. Oh, Chimamanda, thank you so much for your super chat. We hear one bad example of communism from the past. We are supposed to demonize it, yet we hear many bad examples of capitalism even today, but we are supposed to give it a chance after chance. Exactly. The capitalism been applying like for over like about 200 years, more or less about 200 years. And what did it do? It just make the 1% rich and the other 99% dirt poor. And what it did is like the USA. I gotta say, I mean, I guess you all agree with me. The USA is the most capitalist country on earth. Look at it right now. It's so great system that it faces a recession and depression once every 7 or 8 years. Come on. Recession and depression in 2008, 2016, and then 2020, 2023. See the pattern here? Every 7 or 8 years, it's very close to collapse and it's barely back to normal. Things just getting worse and worse and worse. Just looking at the living conditions of the people. The healthcare getting worse and worse, more expensive. Food is more expensive. Inflation is more than 100% now compared to a few years ago. Food unaffordable. Hundreds of thousands of houseless people on the street. Society is getting worse and worse and worse with all the issues. Are you mad? But the rich get richer. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. They just bigger. They keep buying islands and islands. You know that the biggest farmland owner in the USA is Bill Gates. Mark Zuckerberg owns several islands in Hawaii, a nation that is illegally occupied by the USA. I mean, it doesn't work. That's continuously example of how capitalism doesn't work. But yes, we're supposed to hey, it's just some bad example. It still works. Just work within the system. Gosh. Ayo, there's a silver sticker. Let me check. I'm not sure what channel it says though. It's the green pear, blue pear, turquoise pear. Giving a thumbs up. Hey, thank you so much, John. I love the silver sticker. Framing it as Vietnam being weak. I mean, yeah. The truth of the matter is that United States that need Vietnam to prepare for decouple with China. Vietnam will be repacking Chinese product like India does Russian oil. Framing it as Vietnam being weak and becoming reformist is laughably backwards. Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that it is not Vietnam who backed the U.S. to operate our relationship. It was the other way around. It's the U.S. that been asking Vietnam to operate the relationship for years and years on end. Finally, in 2023, we agreed. So, yep. That's a true story. And look at Haiti. Yeah, look at Haiti, how capitalism works. Oh, I'm checking the chat right now. Bill Gates big potato. Gosh. On Australia, I must agree our government is just America's imperialist lapdog for the reason, and with the August. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I mean, there's no better explanation. Australia is imperialist running dog for the USA. That is the truth about that. Can we talk about the NGOs in Vietnam? Complicated issues. They do good and they do bad. I mean, on the surface level, we need them because they bring the foreign investment in Vietnam, like USAID. A lot of NGOs in Vietnam, they claim human rights NGOs. They brought a lot of money in Vietnam because they're rich, because they funded by some very unholy forces that I don't want to name. You know who I'm talking about? But they're rich. They have billions of dollars somehow. Yeah, I mean, and they came to Vietnam because they claim that they want to help us. So, okay, they gave us money and we are poor and developing. So, okay, we need the money. Okay, give us your money. But we still know for a fact that they have an agenda behind them and we are very skeptical about them. And also, you need to be very cautious about anyone who wholeheartedly believes in NGOs because they either have an agenda behind them or they are brainwashed. All right? NGOs, they have an agenda, always have an agenda behind them, especially the big and powerful NGOs with billions of dollars. Hey, the NGOs, they are non-governmental. How can they have that much money? Who fund them? You have to look for where the money comes from. Who fund them? And of course, whoever pay that much money to anybody, they must have something behind it because there's no way in this capitalist world, some billionaire just gives somebody billions of dollars just for fun. All right? If Jeff Bezos funded somebody, there must be something behind it. At least it's tax write-off. All right? So, vast majority of the NGOs, I'm not saying all because maybe somehow there are good NGOs out there, I could be wrong, but I mean, the vast majority of NGOs are big, full of money, blah, blah, blah. They have some agenda behind them. We need their money because we're poor. We are not saying no to money, to dollars, no. We're not that ding dong. On the one hand, we take the money. On the other hand, we are being very cautious about that. So you know the dynamic between that? Does Vietnamese economic dynamic is similar to Chinese? It's very much. It's not exactly the same because we have a different material conditions, but we have a lot of similarity because we are Also from a feudalist country fighting against colonialism and imperialism, running to socialist path, building socialism and communism, following Marxism, Leninism, having Communist Party. So very much similar in that sense, but also very different in the scale of it. Because think about it economically. China is a huge country with 1.4 billion people. Vietnam is just a small country with 100 million, 14 times less than them. So yeah, the scale is way different, and our history is also very complicated. So it's yes and no. Yeah. NGOs are very efficient for laundering money. Exactly. There you go. Vietnam's domestic economy is strong and very strong in agriculture. Yes, we are we came from an agrarian country. Our agriculture is very strong, and we are very good at farming. Vietnamese people are very good at farming. So India is number 1 in exporting rice in the world. Vietnam is usually number 2 or number 3 sometimes. Usually number 2. Just imagine, compare the two sides of the countries of Vietnam and India. India is a huge, massive country, whole like that. Vietnam is like a dot compared to India, with like way less population. And we are already small, talking about the size, but actually the farming in Vietnam is even less than that. Because like half of the country is mountainous or coastline. We cannot grow rice that much or any farming. Mostly the reason the farming in Vietnam is only 3 main reasons, like the Red River Delta, the Mekong River Delta, and then the highland. That the 2 deltas are for rice, and the highland in the south west is for like rubber, for like coffee, black pepper, something, fruits, durians. So generally speaking, the only 2 big reasons in Vietnam that can make rice, which is the Red River Delta and the Mekong River Delta. Each with just teeny tiny amount of farmland, Vietnam managed to be the second in the world in exporting the most rice. That is how good we are at farming. So that is why like Vietnam, the food security is extremely high. We have a rice stabilization programs, which means that to make sure that rice price is always low enough, affordable for poor Vietnamese people to afford. So that is how amazing it is, us at farming. You can't grow rice in the ocean. That's going to be socialism's fault. I think Vietnam export a lot of rice paper. It is just a good food. All right. Thank you so much for your super chat. Hello, question. What are your thoughts on socialism with Chinese characteristics? Do you think that China is still pursuing communism? First of all, you should ask the Chinese comrade. Not, I'm a Vietnamese comrade, but I mean, I can, because of your super chat and because of the support, I will try to answer you, but just take my answer with a pinch of salt, with a grain of salt. I'm saying that it's like, because I'm Vietnamese, I'm not Chinese. But I don't think there's any big problems with socialism with Chinese characteristics, because if you think about it from the materialist dialectic kind of perspective, each of the country, each of the nation, each area will have their own material conditions, and there is no universal formula to build socialism. Each of the countries will, based on the theories and based on the actual material condition, they have to come up with their own path. That is why we have our own path to socialism. Laos is having their own path to socialism. North Korea having their own path. Cuba having their own path. China
also have their own paths, and they will define their paths. And what we can do is just to look at them, learn from the lessons, what they did wrong and what they did right, and then apply that into your own material conditions if you want to build socialism. So I don't see any big problem with socialism with Chinese characteristics. It's just like we also building socialism with the Vietnam culture, Vietnam style, our own Vietnamese path. So I mean, yeah. And do I think China is still pursuing communism? The answer is still being open, because what we can do right now is wait and see and observe. You know, first of all, it is not our position to just a whole entire nation, because speaking it from Vietnam, is seeing a lot of people sitting, comfortably in their armchair in their own country on the outside of the earth and judging other people for doing this right and wrong. I think that it's coming from a very chauvinistic kind of position, ignorant and arrogant kind of position. So what we do right now is, I don't know. We don't know. Is Vietnam still pursuing communism? Is Laos still pursuing communism? Is Cuba pursuing communism? North Korea pursuing communism? I don't know. That's what we can know is, on the paper, they still claim that they're following communism. They still a Marxist-Leninist state. They still having a communist party. So what we can do is to just take their words and observe and learn from the lessons from us. And what you should do is that you should not focus too much on this question, because it's a waste of time. It doesn't have anything to do with your life, and it doesn't change anything in your country. It doesn't have the working class in your country. What you should do is to go organize and do actually something to help in your community, in your country, in your own working class movement, assuming there is one in there. If there's not, maybe you should be the one who maybe should start something. That is what we should do, because we as leftists and communists and socialists, we are materialists, dialectical materialists. We believe that the whole point of being communist, being socialist, being Marxist-Leninist, being leftist, is to make some change out there in the real world. Is this a waste of time to just sit there and talk about not non-related issues? Just let them do what they claim to do. What we need to do is observe, learn lessons from them, and know that they are not perfect. We are not perfect. They're gonna make mistake. We're gonna make mistake, but they're gonna have achievement, and we need to learn from that. Learn what they did wrong and what they did right, and apply that into your society. Because the most important thing is to go out there and make some change. Vietnam did it, China did it, Laos did it, Cuba did it. Now it's your turn to do the same thing. We all had our revolutions in the 40s and in the 50s, and we officially have this socialist republic state or something like that, whatever we call each other. But it's your turn to do the same thing now, and then we would love to, we are waiting for you to do your part, like a movie that I'm referring to. We are waiting for you to do your part, and after that, we would love to work with you as comrades, I mean, I hope that we can have another great friendship with all of you, like what we have with China, what we have with Laos and Cuba. So that is my very sincere answer and opinion about this. I mean, it's kind of okay. It's okay if you have a question in your mind, about like, is this country really socialist? Is that country pursuing communism? Okay, it's good to have that question in your mind, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand what is your priority. Looking for answer for those questions is not your priority, especially if you are not in one of those countries, all right? The priority of you is to go work with your comrades in your area, go help other comrades make some change, or if you're unable to do any of that, it's fine. Because like from each according to your ability to each according to your needs. You can just educate yourself, inform yourself, and that is already very helpful because I am here. I have my own channel and streams like this. The point is to give you information, give you a different perspective, a different narrative for you to think about it. I'm not saying that I am always right because, again, I'm also just a human being. I make mistakes, a lot of mistakes. What am I doing is I give you a different source of information for you to do your own analysis, to do your own research, and come up with your own answers in your head. This is it. Thank you so much for super chat, Chimamadu. I always find myself arguing with Haitian gusanos who wholeheartedly believe that the West is completely blameless for their country's problems. Same thing. We share the same experience here. Vietnamese gusanos. Can I use gusano for Vietnamese? The Vietnamese gusano in the USA, they love America. They absolutely that America, not just they think that the USA is blameless about its problem in Vietnam. They brought it to an extent that the USA is the real hero, the real savior of Vietnam. And it was the Vietnamese communists who kicked out their hero and their savior. That is why Vietnam is so poor right now. They brought that to that extent. The American in their head, the America not just blameless, but they actually savior who got humiliated, who got kicked out of Vietnam. It's 100% Vietnam's fault that we say no to a helping hand. That is it. Is this international gaslighting? Wait. Maoism. No. Mao is not a Maoist. Maoism has nothing to do with Mao Zedong taught. Is that what they're talking about? Okay, I will give you a 5 minutes long lesson about that because I happen to do some research about it. What China follows is Mao Zedong taught. In short, Mao taught. And actually, Mao Zedong, when he was alive, he very specifically said that he didn't want people to call his ideas like an ism. It's not an ism. It's nothing new. It's just his ideas about how to build socialism in China with the very specific Chinese material conditions. Just like Vietnam, we have a Ho Chi Minh taught. It's not an ism because it's not something brand new. It's just an application of Marxism, Leninism into the Vietnamese material conditions. Like the North Korea, they have a Zuche taught, and in Laos, they have a Quezon Phong Vinh Han taught. It's just that. The application. Maoism is a totally different thing that I believe it came from some guy in Peru. I don't want to name any name, but yeah, there's a guy in Peru who did that, and it has nothing to do with Mao Zedong taught. So don't mistake them too. That's my 5 minutes lesson about that. Do I think the tensions continues, between the countries? A third world or non-ally bloc alternative may appear. I hope. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not being a idealist here because I know that none of the there's a very long way for every single country in this earth can apply the same non-ally foreign policy, but I think that one day slowly we get into it. But I mean, not many countries can have the same foreign policy as Vietnam today. Maintain our independence, the true independence, like not like half-ass independence. Like I'm sorry, but like Australia, like I'm sorry, Japan and South Korea. No, it's not true independence. They're not independent. They very dependent on the USA. All right, so it's not true independence. I mean true independence here. True independence and freedom, and no ally with other countries. It's really hard, but I mean Vietnam is trying to maintain. I think that Vietnam, at least we are offering to use a formula for peace. Because imagine in a universe where on this earth, all the nations maintain our non-airline policy. That would be really good in a sense that no country would align with other country for, to threaten or, attack other countries. But we are friends with everyone, just like cooperative kind of relationship like that. It should be good, right? I mean, yeah. That is a formula for peace. A formula, not the formula. It is what a formula for peace that we are offering you. And I hope that somehow in the future, your country can apply the same thing. Because even like a small country, poor developing like Vietnam can do it. I mean, if you're strong and powerful, why can't you do it? We can do it. Why can't you? I mean, it depends a lot on you. Yeah, neo-colonialization is definitely not real independence, absolutely. Some Australians are working on it somewhat, but good luck. Good luck to you. That's my sincere good luck, though. It's not a mockery, something. It's sincere good luck. Like, best wishes for you. Ayu. Hey, hello, Portuguese comrade. Okay. Organizing is very important. I think many comrades are focused on secondary things. Reading from Portugal. 5 a.m. Oh, very early over there, huh? It's like 10 a.m. here. 11 nearly. Thank you so much, comrade from Portugal. Yeah, a lot of people, because I got to say that it is very compelling. It is very, addictive to, to have a thought experiment. I mean, that stuff, just think about going and digging up that stuff like, hey, is this real? Is this not real in this country doing, pursuing communism, pursuing socialism? It's a good instinct to ask, to question yourself. Not gonna lie, it's a good instinct to always be skeptical and, ask yourself a question like that. But also, as I said, at the same time, you need to remind yourself that that is just a secondary thing. Your primary is to care about your actual living conditions, your actual working class over there, because you're not in other countries. You're not in China, you're not in Vietnam, you're not in Laos and Cuba and North Korea. So your opinions don't matter. And since you're not there, so actually you can't do anything to help in real life. What you can do is to go out there, to organize, to work with your comrades to make some change in your actual living area. To help comrades who help people who are in need in your nation. That is what you can do. That is your priority. That is your primary issues that you need to focus on. Because that is what you can do. Don't focus too much on what you cannot do. It is so time consuming. You're wasting your time and it doesn't matter. Just let people in other countries deal with your own problems. Even though, you can raise concerns, you can try to talk to them, but the fact that your voice would be heard by millions of people over there is very low chance. You have a way higher chance changing something in your own country. So let's focus on that. Don't waste your time. The real question is, how will Americans ever recover from Havana syndrome? The first step is to end U.S. sanction on Cuba. That's it. To end Havana's symptoms, and people talk about that. Just ask them that. The first step is to end sanction on Cuba. Yeah, as a Chilean learning and trying to find my way to contribute, recently I've really had to face the mistake of getting lost in thought exercise. Yeah, thought experiment. Right here, right now, there's tons to do. Yeah, they had so many things that you must do, you should do, and you need to do. So yeah, go out there. Organize. Or you can, because any kind of problems, go educate yourself. Go talk to other comrades, educate other comrades, teach other comrades your knowledge. That is something right there. Yeah, there are revolutionary work to be done all over the place. Mutual aid can happen anywhere. Yep. Oh gosh. Talking about that Havana syndrome. Don't those people who believe in that syndrome just maybe think about it as like maybe you just have a hangover? Seriously, you just have a hangover. Get over it. Drink a lot of water. Oh my goodness. I know we don't know much about Australian politics, especially 2008, 2014. No clue. No clue. Oh, there was the Labour Party in 2010 that let Julia Gillard becoming the prime minister. Could be something that, all right, okay. I will do some more research. Sounds like Brazil with Bolsonaro in 2016, because it's absolutely a coup. All right, it's like to bring up to the power the fascist like Bolsonaro into the president of the Brazil 2016 around the same time. Wow, not surprising. Oh my God, the CIA did admit the involvement. That's all right. Okay. I forgot I'm not talking to all your friends. Oh my gosh. we have about 15 minutes left. Just chat time. Checking the chat and answering your questions. Oh gosh. I like your comment. She ain't involved? No way. Yeah, right. No way. They're involved in the regime changing in Australia and Latin America? No way. Wink, wink. Gosh. Can you explain the difference of social democrats and socialists? Social democrats in Vietnamese is dân chủ xã hội, and I think the biggest difference is this: socialists will seek to have a real revolution, to start a real revolution, and the social democrats, we are talking about the social democrats like in Lenin time in Russia, and the social democrats in the Second International, the Edward Bernstein time. What they did was to still the same thing as work within the system. They still believe in something like to vote in the revolution. They are not revolutionary. They do not want to have kind of revolution kind of in a violent sense. What they want to do is slowly voting in revolution. And that is what I learned from history. I'm talking about this very two specific kinds of social democrats in Lenin's time and in Edward Bernstein time. That is the biggest issue that I have with them. For example, I can give you an example. My biggest problem that I have with the history of that was that like the Second International. The leader as Edward Bernstein, he's a very big social democrat guy. And the same with like the same kind of international that Rosa Luxemburg was in there too. At that time, Ho Chi Minh, the communist leader of Vietnam, also a member of that Second International with the Social Democrats. And the biggest critic of Ho Chi Minh, just Ho Chi Minh had with the Second International and Social Democrats at the time was that at that time, Ho Chi Minh and many other comrades in colonies tried to bring up the colonial question to the Second Internationals. And Edward Bernstein and his followers did not want to listen to us because all they care about is the working class in their own home mother countries. They did not care about working class in colonies like Vietnam. And when Ho Chi Minh brought up those questions, none of them cared or listened. And it was terrible. That was why Ho Chi Minh stood up in one of the meetings and criticized and he wrote an article about that too, criticized the Second International. He said that, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like this. What are you? What kind of revolution that are you waving? That you don't care. What are you like? What kind of revolution are you trying to wave? What kind of working class are you that you don't care about the people, the living conditions of the people in the colonies that your mother nations directly exploiting from, that their life, that you are benefiting from it? What kind of revolutionaries are you when you don't support us? That was how mad Ho Chi Minh was. That was why Ho Chi Minh voted for the Third International and voted for to dismiss the Second International. And I think that the biggest problem with the Bernstein's time social democrats is that they are bourgeois proletariat. Let me explain this. This term was mentioned by Marx and Engels when they talk about, the proletariat in colonialist countries, their own home countries, like, France and Germany, UK, England, yeah. Bourgeois proletariat means that they are the proletariat, they are the working class. But since they were born in the colonial, like colonialist countries, they benefit from the exploitation coming from their own countries' colonies. That is why they tend to side with colonialists, with colonialism, with the bourgeoisie in their own home country than with the poor working people in the colonies. That's what we call the bourgeois proletariat. That is why when Ho Chi Minh brought up the terrible living conditions of the colonies like Vietnam, those bourgeois proletariat social democrats under the leadership of Bernstein, they did not care about, because they thought it's none of their business. They only care about their own living conditions of their own working class in their own country, and they even believed that if it means that it will be better for the working class in Germany, it is okay for Germany to continue exploiting their colonies in other countries. It is okay for Germany to go exploit other countries if it means that it would make the living conditions for the proletariat in Germany better. That is their stance. Now, that is my biggest problem with them. That is why the Second International failed, and that was why the Third International was formed, the Comintern, and that was why Ho Chi Minh, one of the very first things that Ho Chi Minh read from Lenin, it was actually the colonial question, the theory on something and the colonial question. Yeah, I only remember the Vietnamese name for it. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. That is one of the very first documents from Lenin that Ho Chi Minh read, and from that moment, he realized that only communism, Marxism, Leninism is the answer for the colonial question of Vietnam. So yeah, that is it. Yeah, Bernstein, I really hate the guy Bernstein. Though Edward Bernstein is really a tragedy to the movement of the working class movement. I mean, I hate that so much. And you know what? Ho Chi Minh had a kind of debate with other social democrats in that Second International. And it was funny is this. Actually, Rosa Luxemburg was the only one that agreed with Ho Chi Minh in those meetings. It was Rosa Luxemburg, and Rosa Luxemburg actually interviewed Ho Chi Minh. They talked to each other, and Rosa Luxemburg asked Ho Chi Minh about, what did he think about, the colonial question? Why did he vote for the formation of the Third International? Well, it was Rosa Luxemburg who actually questioned Ho Chi Minh about that, and I'm very sad that Rosa Luxemburg was assassinated just very, very shortly after that, and things would change very much if Rosa still survived and she can, maybe work with Ho Chi Minh more, just like have a thought exchange with Ho Chi Minh. A lot of things would change. Rest in peace, Rosa Luxemburg, and rest in peace, Ho Chi Minh. Things would have been better if she was not assassinated. I was talking with some comrades earlier about Vietnamese democracy, and they were surprised about how little they knew. I know they really well read. In fact, they've been commies before I even born. But that's very interesting. Yeah, that is to show you how few information about Vietnam available out there in English, and any that is available in the very few information that available, most of them are wrong or terribly manipulated by capitalist agenda. Very sad. Thought on Hawaii. The U.S. should stay out of Hawaii and independence and freedom for Hawaiian comrades. Hawaii is a nation. It is illegally occupied by the USA against the will of Hawaiian people. And actually, the USA tricked the whole Hawaiian nation into signing a treaty with them. And based on that, they just stole the whole nation. They still illegally occupy and poison their water and their land. And the billionaires keep buying the beautiful islands there while Hawaiian indigenous people living on the street being houses on their own homeland. So stay the heck out of Hawaii. That is my message. And more of you need to understand about this part of history. A lot of you still think that Hawaii is just like a happy, beautiful state of America where nothing can get wrong. And actually Hawaiian indigenous people are happy over there. No, I talked to a lot of Hawaiian indigenous people, and it's bad. All right. Same here as Puerto Rico, Guam, Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, I mean, under the Bernstein time, their main focus is to increasing wages. That's just it. Wage. It's just like more money, more hours, higher salary for the working class. End of story. So yeah, it's not revolutionary at all. It just still, work within the system. Still just like, just fix a little bit of the conditions of the working class, not like changing, the whole system or something. It's not revolutionary enough. They have a potential, but they are also very easily to be tricked and swayed out of the path. Because again, the biggest problem is the bourgeois proletariat kind of mindset. A lot of proletariat in the USA right now, I mean the vast majority of you, are bourgeois proletariat. Like absolutely, you're working class, you're poor, you're suffering, you cannot pay for your food bills or electric bills or especially hospital bills, but then you still sign with the bourgeoisie, the rich people in your own country, instead of looking at the poor working class in Africa or in Asia. No, they sign with the bourgeoisie in their home country. Either first of all, it's because their benefits directly tie with the bourgeoisie over there. Second of all, they're being indoctrinated heavily by the bourgeoisie over there without the mainstream media, newspapers. That is why, that is why the mainstream media, they demonize communism. They demonize communists like Vietnam, China, North Korea, describing us as like brainless drones, brainwashed people, oppressed people, or evil people, blah, blah. They do that. The mainstream media do that to alienate the working class in the USA from the working class in other countries, to make them not looking at the working class as other fellow human beings. Something else. That is why, alienate them from each other. And then, so how to manipulate you and control you. The US should drop the U because there's no united in there. It's not united. It's very like splintered right here. Yeah, Puerto Rico is not a country or a state. It's something else. It's a territory controlled and occupied by the USA. Absolutely, like, Hawaiian or Puerto Ricans or Guams, like they treated like second-class citizens. It's really bad. It's like neo-colonialism. How do I feel about Vietnam? Somewhat Aligning with itself with the U.S.-American geopolitical interests in the South China Sea. Here's the thing. You have to think about it from different perspectives. Of course, Vietnam disagree with the South China Sea bullshit. It's not a real thing. And if you have some decent brain cell, you can just check the map and look at the 9 dash line. Even if you don't have any knowledge about geopolitics or geography or history, just look at the map. Does it make sense to you that the 9 dash line that covers the vast majority of that ocean, 5 other countries sharing that over the decades? It doesn't make sense if you have just a decent single brain cell. All right. So talking about that. So Vietnam, of course, we disagree with it. Just as the same as Philippines, we don't agree with this. All right. Brunei, Malaysia, we don't agree with this. It's BS. It doesn't make any sense. There's no actual historical base for it. You know, like they just made it up to justify their action. So all the countries in ASEAN, we disagree with this. And we are using the U.S. stance for this specific issue. Because we know that the U.S. doesn't like China, and we also don't like China about this very specific issue. We stated very clearly. I'm not saying it doesn't mean that Vietnam's anti-China. We are talking about this as a dialectical materialist. We look at the evidence one by one and we analyze it. Talking about this specific, I don't even like calling it South China Sea, but it doesn't exist. What we call is the East Sea of Vietnam. So from now on, I'm going to call it East Sea. The problem with the East Sea is that we know that there's a tension there, and the U.S. could be used for our benefits in this very specific issue. So we are making use of that. It's just that we are very pragmatic kind of government. The government of Vietnam, the Communist Party of Vietnam, even the whole entire nation of Vietnam, we are very pragmatic about this. We know what to use and what to not use, and what to use in what situation and what should not use in what situation. So in this very specific case, we want to lean on that side, the U.S. side, because we want to fight against this East Sea dispute bullshit. It's not even a dispute, all right? It's just a unilateral kind of dispute. But anyway, long story short, it's just that. Yeah, it's not like Vietnam has to back the U.S. about this issue. It's the other way around. Vietnam is making use of the tension for our own cause. That is how pragmatic we are. It's just that. I mean, we are, as I said, we are grown up. We are adults. Oh no. What do I think of Chomsky? Thank you so much for your super chat. Not a big fan. That's my answer. Not a big fan. I mean, yeah, if all the country becomes socialist, we call it socialist sea. True. Okay, we are very much over time right now. Thank you so much, comrades in the chat, for all of your support. It's glad to be here and talk to you, and I hope that you understand our Vietnam policy, foreign policy right now, and I would very much appreciate it if you go and educate other people around this. Long story short, Vietnam has a very consistent and strong stance foreign policy that we would never align with any country against other country, no military alliance, no military base in our territory, and never use threat, never use violence or threaten to use violence on other countries. Very clear about that. And upgrading the relationship with the USA doesn't mean anything like military alliance, but it's against our policy that we've been having it for so long. It just means more trade, and that's all. And if they still insist on believing that that is the Vietnam ally with the US, just tell them the fact, the truth that Vietnam is having the exact same status of relationship with China since 2008, 15 years earlier than the USA. So what do they think about that? And also the same title with Russia in 2016. I could be wrong, but 2012, 12 or 16, one of the two. But yeah, I mean, so what do they think about that? Okay, Vietnam is a very rare country on earth that can have a warm meeting with all three superpowers, China, Russia, and the USA, have the same exact status of relationship and warming meetings with all three superpowers while maintain our independence, freedom, and strong stance on being independent. So hope you understand it. Now, okay, bye everybody. Real politics in practice. Exactly. And again, they say like Vietnam is bad for playing both sides. Just tell them that, yeah, Vietnam just, you know what? Vietnam not even just playing both sides, playing all sides. So what? Deal with it. All right. So, okay. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time. Thank you so much for your support, and bye-bye.